The addiction and the brain always have a close relationship. The brain is very important for human survival in this complex world. It is very important to understand the effects of addiction on the natural balance of the brain. The addiction affects and causes changes in the functioning as well as the structure of the human brain. After understanding the effects and symptoms of drug and substance abuse on mental health, it becomes easier to learn the psychology of addiction. Once it is understood, the breaking psychology of the addiction process also becomes easier and more executable. Substance abuse causes mental health disorders. These mental disorders are associated with biological, environmental, and psychological factors. While breaking the psychology of addiction, people have to deal with unpleasant emotions instead of avoiding them. It is very hard, but definitely possible to quit addiction with determination, courage, spending some time in the supervision of experts, and following the professionals' advice. Psychology is a science that is dedicated to understanding human behavior. Psychologists are trying to improve and promote the living standard of human beings. The proper functioning of the human brain is very important for humans. The brain makes adjustments to maintain its proper natural balance. However, addiction affects this balance badly. It causes the balance to change to accommodate addiction. The human brain is responsible for communication. The brain achieves this communication through neurons. All drugs affect neurotransmitters to varying degrees. Neurotransmitters play a role in the addictive process, along with the receptors. The brain has different sections, and each section performs a different function. For effective communication, these different sections have to interact with each other to achieve the desired results. Mental illness history, poor social skills, and pressure of peers are few of the factors that contribute to drug or alcohol abuse. Genetic tendencies, injury to the brain, and poor nutrition are some of the factors which cause mental disorders. The development of mental health can really affect mental illness and substance abuse. Different studies and surveys also show that substance abuse and mental illness always have a close relationship with one another. The quality of life is also affected by substance abuse. The potential effects of substance abuse are financial issues, permanent changes to nervous systems, damage to organs, and other mental illness, etc. While looking at the symptoms of drug abuse, the addicted person doesn't enjoy being part of the activities he used to enjoy previously. Additionally, the people take more risks, feel trouble in managing the responsibilities, and face problems with relationships. People continue to use drugs even after knowing that it is dangerous for their health. It is a physical addiction, which is easy to understand. The body of the abuser adjusts according to the rising levels of alcohol or drugs and compensates for the chemicals ingested. So, physical addiction results in overtime. Another strong component of addiction is psychological addiction. As the psychology of addiction is a complex pattern of behavior, so it is not easy to understand. At the start, it is just a choice to use drugs. However, it becomes important when these drugs become the primary source to relieve those strong feelings. This repetition makes the person addicted. There are people who drink just on weekends. Though these individuals might not be really addicted to alcohol, they can always stop drinking whenever they want, or with the change in the situation. However, it would have been extremely difficult for an addict to give up the drinking habit, even if there is a threat of losing a job or loved ones. The psychologists have always been debating about psychological addiction and addictive personality. Physical addiction has a strong genetic component. Additionally, compulsive behavior is related to certain anxiety disorders and obsessive-compulsive disorders, which also have a strong genetic component. Experts related to mental health do agree that destructive compulsive behavior and substance abusers share similar psychological attributes. A few characteristics of an addictive personality are a strong sense of isolation, overreacting to the stress and pressure, and difficulty delaying satisfaction. Two members of the same family growing up in the same environment inheriting the same genetic disposition and abused by the same parents, may end up in entirely different situations. One of those might become a gambling addict, and the other may not even have any signs of addiction whatsoever. There are countless factors that influence addiction, as well as its recovery. The life of nobody is predetermined by personality traits, family, or genetics, and also no situation is hopeless. People react to different situations differently, as they have choices. It is never true that if someone is born with an addictive personality, the person will always become an addict. Psychological addiction is very dangerous for human health. However, psychological models are very helpful and useful for understanding why people engage in this unhealthy behavior. Every addiction theory presents or explains things partially. No theory is perfect yet. The personality consists of the id, the superego, and the ego. Anxiety is the main driving force in psychoanalytic theory. Substance abuse is a defense against anxiety. Addicts abuse other substances, including alcohol, to protect themselves against irresistible anxiety, as well as other painful emotions. These emotions consist of depression and loneliness. Unfortunately, the addicts never grow up when alcohol is used to avoid anxiety situations. The abuser just can't develop the appropriate mechanisms to handle or tackle the situation. Instead, they just always want to take the bottle and go. There are many causes of drug addiction. Human behavior is the first one. Psychology is a science that studies human behavior. Human behavior is derived from beliefs and thoughts. Psychologists have developed different ways and techniques to help people change their beliefs and thoughts. As a result of this change, their feelings, as well as their behavior, will change. The third psychological cause of addiction is personal development maturity. Psychotherapy can really be helpful for those who are trying to recover from alcoholism or other addictions. Drug addiction can occur while handling or dealing with uncomfortable feelings or stress. Psychotherapy can certainly help to build up motivation in people to improve their stress reduction, problem-solving, and coping skills. It is not easy to understand the breaking psychology of addiction. People have to tackle unpleasant feelings or emotions instead of just avoiding them. The feedback from the group really helps addicts understand places where breaking psychological addiction is possible, or where they are psychologically stuck. Finding a recovery center is one of the first steps to break this addictive behavior, hence breaking psychological addiction. Along with the physical, recovery is a mental and spiritual process. Everyone is different from the rest of the people. Additionally, the situation of every addict is not only unique, but also different. Yes, the recovery is very difficult and not easy, but still possible. With determination and effective supervision, addiction can be broken.